Welcome back to another episode of Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast. It's your healthy habits and lifestyle coach, Giovanni, and I help those with endometriosis and polycystic ovary syndrome reduce chronic pain, eliminate stress, and minimize irregular or heavy periods. Y'all got one of my sisters up in here today. Brianna. Life after infidelity, y'all. I'm not going to give you too much because I'm going to let her introduce herself, but y'all already know what time it is. Y'all already know what time it is. If you don't know, because it's your first time listening to the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast, it's time to vibe with me, y'all. Welcome to the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast. Yeah, Brianna.
I love that joint. That joint is fire.
Yeah, and that wasn't even AI. So wait till I really elevate.
Hey, okay then.
Well, welcome to the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast.
Yes, I'm happy to be here.
Man, I'm just so grateful that you're here. Go ahead and introduce yourself and let the people know who you are.
All right. Hello everybody. My name is Briaina Latrice. I am an affair recovery coach. I coach women who have been cheated on, helping them remove the shame of their decision to leave or stay, because I believe that whether you leave or stay, both decisions will be hard, and I am here to help you navigate your hard. I also have a podcast called Life After Infidelity, so if you're looking for tips on how to navigate life after infidelity, check out the podcast.
Come through life after infidelity, girl. So, what's one word that you would use to describe your podcast, Life After Infidelity? One word.
The first word that just came to my mind when you asked me was freedom.
Talk to me. Why freedom? Why freedom?
Freedom to remove the shame, the embarrassment, the anger, the insecurities that you have connected with being cheated on. So many times, like I said, we're ashamed. We don't know what decision to make. We don't know if we should leave or stay. And I think that when you hear stories of people who have stayed and people who have left, it releases you from all of the negative aspects of how you've been thinking and feeling about yourself and navigating this situation. And it gives you the freedom to understand that what that person did had nothing to do with you.
And that is such a hard concept. Like, yeah. It is such a hard concept. Like, it sounds simple, but it's so hard when you're in it. You know what I mean? And you're trying to figure it out and process it. And then in addition to that, grieve that relationship and what it looked like prior to the infidelity. I'm just so grateful that you said that. I love the word freedom. But what really stood out to me in your explanation of freedom was release. And how important is release when it comes to life? Like, let's talk about release just for a moment. Like, how important is the action and the process of releasing? Because you don't just do it one day, right? Talk to us, infidelity coach. Talk to me about the power of releasing and getting in the habit of releasing.
So, and I know we're going to get into this, right? But what we don't realize is that when we keep pain stored, where does it go, right? Because it's not coming outwardly. It stays within our body. And especially for us women, right? Like with the cortisol and everything like that, a lot of it just stays in our womb, right? And so, I reposted a post where Tisha Campbell Martin was talking about she hasn't had any symptoms of her ailment since she left her divorce. But that's because that stress, that anxiety, that overwhelm, that anger, that hurt, right? Like all of that, she was probably living with that every single day. And because she was not giving her body the opportunity to release that, then what it does is it shows back up in certain type of diseases. And so when we talk about release, that's what you're doing. You're releasing your body of all of the negativity. And what it's doing is it allows your body within the center, like we talk about chakras or whatever you want to call it, but this center of your body, it allows it to regulate like it's supposed to, and everything is supposed to move in a very cyclical way. And when we don't release, we don't understand that it's creating boulders within our central nervous system. And when those boulders are there, what it does is it's, basically rerouting different ways. And so that's why when we talk about ailments, it shows up in ailments because we're not allowing our body to release.
I thank you for breaking that down and taking us on that important journey of understanding what it looks like and why you need to release. Tell me and give the listeners some ways that people can actually start learning how to release. What does that process look like for someone? What could it look like for those? Because I know the process of releasing will be different for everybody because it's your own unique approach. But what are some of those ways people can start getting into the mindset and shifting of releasing?
Yeah, that's a good question. So first of all, I would say compassion. We give compassion so much to other people, but we don't allow ourselves the compassion that we need. And what I mean by that is that, especially with the audience that I work with, a lot of the times they feel like, man, I found out that he cheated 6 months ago. I know I should be further along. I'm so embarrassed. No, you're not. Like 6 months ago, you're still a baby. And so we have to look at any type of situation that we experience, whether it's a week, 6 weeks, or a year, we have to look at that as if it's a child. Because if this is your first time going through infidelity and this is your 6th month experiencing that, guess what? You're still a baby in this healing process. Okay. And so you have to give yourself compassion. So after you give yourself compassion, what that looks like is, okay, it's 6 months. And I'm still in a space of emptiness. I'm still in a space of uncertainty. I'm still in a space of confusion, like whatever it is. And allow yourself to call those things out, right? Because if we don't acknowledge how we're feeling, then how can we learn to navigate through it? Like, I think that a lot of us have already heard those type of things. So after you have compassion, then just call out those things and acknowledge how you're feeling. And then ask yourself, what is it that I need in this moment? And allow yourself to provide yourself with whatever it is that you need in that moment. Maybe you just need space. Maybe you just need time alone. Maybe you just need to, talk to somebody. And also, I call it in my program, the first week, we call it a pity party, right? And I'm like, whatever, if it's a day, 2 days, 2 weeks, but you're going to release everything, whatever hurt, like, and we're going to cry about it. Because I tell people, if you don't believe in crying, you can't work with me, because again, we have to release all of that. And so just allowing yourself to feel every single emotion and just slow down, stop feeling like you have to, you know what I'm saying? Like, be this far along in your journey. Your journey is your journey, and enjoy it.
I love it. Compassion. That right there was like, oh, give yourself grace. Like, you're human and you can't control what other people do anyway. So it's nothing that you did or didn't do that causes someone else's actions to be what it is that they do. So I love the compassion. It made me say, okay, give yourself grace. But then when you say become aware of what you're feeling and deal with that, at that point, I was like, okay, life after infidelity coach Briaina is take it one moment at a time.
One moment at a time,
Stop trying to hurry up and get through it to figure out who you're going to be, next, or who you're going to evolve into, but embrace the process. And I got the Embrace Vibe shirt on today, but embrace the process. Take it one day at a time. Matter of fact, you didn't even say one day at a time. You said one moment.
One moment.
What do you need in that moment? So like, become aware of your needs. Is it space for yourself? Is it creating a space with something else happening? Maybe something that deals with like self-love or self-care, just to remind you that you exist and that you love you. And I think that's what happens. And I could be wrong, but based on my own experience with infidelity, you forget that you first must love yourself. And so you're feeling this lack of love when it's like, why should I feel less love when I should already feel so much love for myself that I shouldn't feel like I'm missing something because someone else is no longer there, or I'm deciding whether or not I want to stay with someone based on that. Because we, like you said, based on if you decide to stay or you leave, the decision is all on you anyway.
Yep.
But for me, it was a separation thing. But it was, Giovanni, now's the time to love you and love yourself a little bit more. And I think sometimes people miss that aspect in the process, Brianna, about grieving that relationship and processing what it is to embrace that infidelity action that took place in your relationship. It's like, just love on you a little bit more. And when you start really getting into this habit of loving yourself, you stop paying so much attention on how you feel about someone else or someone else's actions or lack thereof for you. And so I just thank you for that. So, because I feel like people need that compassion for themselves. They need to start finding ways to create that space, but most importantly, they need to be aware of it. And I also like that you put a time frame on pity. Because pity will only get you so far in life.
Yeah.
Feel the feels and find a way to vibrate forward. Feel the feels and find a way to vibrate forward. Everything boils down to a choice. You decide what that choice is going to be, but I want you to make it an empowered choice that aligns with who you are and how you show up and love you. So I'm grateful that you took the time to break that down for me and walk that walk.
You're welcome.
So, Brianna, you talked about how women, with that stress, with that trauma, how it stores in the body. You have your own journey with fibroids, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about that journey, just a little bit. Kind of what it looked like when it first showed up for you, when you might not have even known that it was fibroids, right? And then what did it look like for that journey after knowing, okay, this is fibroids, what's happening with my body, what's really going on?
Yeah. So, like post surgery and stuff, or even just post finding out I have fibroids, like, how you go back and you trying to remember, like, and so I remember even when I was in high school, how bad just the first day of my cycles would be like, and I remember my cousin, even a couple of years ago, she asked me, she's like, do you still have really bad cycles? Because one time she came to the house to visit and I was on the floor on the side of my bed. I was trying to make it to the store to get some Midol or ibuprofen, but I just fell to the floor because I was like, man, I can't make it. So that was in high school. But then fast forward to like 2013, a lot of my cousins that are within my generation, because I have a big family. So within my generation, they've been diagnosed with fibroids or PCOS. And so they were like, hey, you should probably go get checked out. So I go, I don't have any like they didn't see anything, and then this time last year, I was just having, because I had gotten used to that my first day has always been super painful. And normally I'll take 2 Midols and an 800 milligram ibuprofen. Well, I would take 4 ibuprofens over 200 milligrams. But I know, but that was always my regimen. Once a month, the first day of my cycle, I would do that. And then after that,
So was this just like your norm?
Yeah, it was just my normal.
Did you feel like that it was normal? Did you think something was wrong with you, or you were just like, oh, this is just my cycle?
Yeah, I just thought it was my cycle.
Because it was always what you experienced.
Yeah, mainly because it was always just the first day. My first day was always painful. And I've heard of people having multiple days that were painful. So since mine was just one, I was like, I just chunked it up and I've been doing this, JoJo, for umpteen years, this regimen. And but I noticed this time last year that the pain started to last a lot longer. And I was taking ibuprofen and Midol more than one day. And then I noticed that my cycles were lasting a lot longer. Like they were because my cycles have always been consistent. 5 days, 4 kind of heavy, 5 done. We know, like panty liner, and that was it. You know how you do.
Yeah.
But girl, it was lasting for like 7 days. then the next cycle 8 to 10, then 12. And I was like, wait a minute, something ain't right. And then one day, girl, I was at work, and actually this happened twice. Again, thinking it's over, right? I didn't even have nothing on this point in time because my cycle had ended where I didn't even have to have a panty liner on at this time. And I was sitting in a meeting, and out of nowhere, blood just gushed. I mean, it messed up my work chair and everything. I had to go home, and then the same thing happened again. Had been off of my cycle, no spotting or nothing. Got to work that morning, and then again, blood just gushed, and had to go home, change clothes. And that day, girl, I sat in my car in the parking lot before I left and just cried because I was like, I can't. And so I had my physical. And I told my doctor, hey, something's wrong. And then that's when we did the ultrasound and all that stuff.
And when they did the ultrasound, they saw.
Yeah, they saw fibroids of, like, the first time I went to the ultrasound place, I think they said like 5 or 6. And then I got with a OBG, and then they did their own, and then they saw 8, but then she also saw a mass. And so she wanted to make sure that it was what it was, if it was either a fibroid or a polyp. And so it came back that it was a polyp in there. And because it's a polyp and polyps can turn cancerous, they were like, all right, well, you got to have surgery. And so she was like, since we're going to get the polyp out, I'll just go ahead and get all the fibroids out. And she even told me that there's a 99% chance it's going to be more than 8 fibroids. And it was. They pulled out 16 fibroids and multiple polyps. Yeah.
That's a lot.
Ain't that a lot?
That was a whole lot.
Yeah.
Could you have felt all of those? Did you feel like what did your body feel like? So you told us what your period looked like, and the unexplained blood just coming randomly after your period was already over. What inside of your body did you feel?
You know what, to be honest, and I know that this is important and I need to get back to this, but since I've been so hyper focused on my business, my health has really fell to the wayside. So I wasn't paying attention to internally what my body was saying. However, I work out a lot. I've been a pescatarian for years. Went vegetarian in 2018. Went pescatarian back in 2020. And so I've always had like a very healthy diet, and I'm a runner and I work out. And I noticed that, like, my stomach was always bloated, right? Even like, with us, the type of diets we have, like when we go to the restaurant, because that stuff be cleaning us out, you know what I'm saying? And I'm so used to, you know what I'm saying, having me a good old healthy bowel movement, and then just looking like, a whole new person by the gut. And every time I was going to the restroom and stuff like that, and increasing my ab work, I noticed that pudge was always still there. It was like annoying. And I was like, I don't know what else I can do. And so I would say it jokingly, and I would say, hey, I think these fibroids got my stomach sticking out, not realizing that that's exactly what it was, because even though I'm still swollen now, I can tell the dramatic difference.
Girl. And you said it, the G word, gut. And so many times people don't realize if your gut isn't right, there's so many other issues and problems that are going to fester. But you hit on it earlier, and you talked about trauma. How do you believe trauma impacts fibroids, PCOS, endometriosis? How do you believe they relate? And then what ways do you tell your clients, or you would let the listeners know how they should go about navigating the process of addressing the trauma to reduce the symptoms of, let's say, fibroids, PCOS, endometriosis, or any other issues that can arise because of this stored trauma?
Yeah, well, like, some studies will talk about like how stress like fibroids is induced with stress. And I think that has a lot to do with it. The fact that the number is so high in Black women with fibroids. And I think that speaks a lot to just a lot of the overwhelm and stress that we experience in our day-to-day lives, right? So I definitely believe that the trauma has a lot to do with that. And, when you and I were talking earlier, I talked about I haven't done any study about it. It's just the hypothesis. But it's like most people, I would say about 90 to 95% of Black women that I've spoken to that have either PCOS or fibroids have experienced molestation. And so I believe there's something there to that, right? And so that plays into what this trauma has done to us. And so we need to find moments where we can just rest, right? And what I would say, how I would start this off is that we don't even really realize that we are a walking stress bomb. And I learned this through my own healing journey. And my life coach, she was like, "You're just so stiff." She was like, "Even in your butt." And so what she taught me, it's crazy, but we are. So what she taught me is like, when I know that I am hyper stressed, it just takes like 30 seconds. I just take like 30 seconds and I allow my body to rest. And I start from my shoulders because that's normally where I carry a lot of my stress. And it's like when you acknowledge, wow, I didn't realize I was that stressed. And then you go all the way down and then you do release when you're walking, just release your butt cheeks. You don't even realize when you're walking how stiff you are. But I'm saying that to say that when our body is always like this and it's contracting all the time, right? Then it's holding everything. And that's not how that's not how our body is meant to operate, right? Like I'm trying to find my camera, but it's like our body should be like this and we're operating like this. So I would say the first thing and the easiest thing that you can do is just really pay attention to your body. Therapists do it, and like metaphysics and things like that. It's about grounding too. Like you can even ground. And what you do with the grounding is, again, you just kind of become very aware of where your feet are and all of those things and give yourself some deep breaths. I think once you start there and you realize like, oh my gosh, I really am carrying a lot of stress. Like that's a really good start. And when you talked about gut health, and this is something again that I have to get back to, I used to clean my gut every 6 weeks. Like I would do a deep colon cleanse, because we don't realize, like, even if you decide to change your diet today and eat healthy, if your gut ain't clean, you know what I'm saying? Like it's not really doing. So I always tell people, like when they ask me for health tips, I'm like, well, before we start your diet change, you need to do a colon cleanse. You need to get all of that out, and then we'll put you in some good probiotics and vitamins, because what we want to do is restore your gut with healthy things, after we clean it out.
I love it. And I want you to break down, what does that look like to go on a colon cleanse? What did you actually do after every 6 weeks to make sure that you were able to get your gut cleansed out? Yeah. I really want you to address that, and then I'll go back to something else that you just said.
Okay. I don't know if you have a product. Do you have a product that you advertise for colon cleanse? Nope. Okay, cool. I'm gonna say this one. It's called Oxy Powder. And it's a pill. And the reason why I like Oxy Powder is because it uses oxygen to clean out your gut, but it keeps in your healthy biotics in there. Because a lot of times when we do colon cleanses, it cleans out the bad and the good. But this one is designed to keep the good bacteria in while it cleans you out. And I like it because you can do it and still go to work. Like, because some colon cleanse, you have to stay at the house. You can't really go nowhere. But this one, it's soft enough to where, like, when you get the feeling, you got time to get up and go to the restroom. Now, don't stay too long. You know what I'm saying? Because I messed around and stayed too long, and I had to go on my. Anyways, I told my boss, but I gotta go get some panties because it just it was bad, girl.
When the cleansing get cleansing, it get cleansing. So you still got a disclaimer on this one, even though
it was so,
well,
and I'm extra right. So I told
So-
my boss, I was like, I'm so embarrassed. I was like, I walked into Walmart and I just knew everybody knew I didn't have panties on under my pants. Anyway,
I don't think you're the first person to freely go into Walmart. I'm going to go on the record and say I don't believe that you were the first person to go into Walmart freely without those on.
Oh my gosh, but girl, that is so funny. So I do that, right? I do the oxy powder, and you take it for you can take it for like a week. And again, they even say don't do it except for like every 6 weeks is the most you can do, because it really does clean you out. And during that time, I am eating somewhat clean. Like sometimes I might add some fish in there and stuff like that from time to time, but for the most part, yeah, and so I'm doing a lot of fruits and vegetables, smoothies and juices. So what I'm doing is restoring my gut, and so that's really what that looks like. And then I'm adding in extra vitamins, right? I like green powder. I like adding flaxseed. So all of the healthy things that you need to add, even chlorophyll, right? And maybe we'll get into that using chlorophyll. A lot of us don't realize like we need to clean our blood, and chlorophyll is a good way to clean out your blood so that you can get that system regulated again too.
And talk about your use with chlorophyll since you're on it right now.
I haven't done chlorophyll in a very long time. I'll be honest with you, but I will say, like, when I did, I just noticed just how clear everything was, how much energy I had. You know what I'm saying? How much lighter I felt. I just felt very revived. When I was, doing the chlorophyll to clean my blood and stuff like that.
Okay, I like it. So y'all, real quick, you just heard Brianna talk about clean eating, fruits, vegetables, while she is on her colon cleanse almost every 6 weeks, something she used to do regularly. But if you're looking for ideas of what clean eating could potentially look like, I have an anti-inflammatory guide linked in the description of this video. So click the link, download your free anti-inflammatory guide. You'll see some fruits, some vegetables, juices, smoothies. So if you are going on a cleanse such as this one, you could utilize those ideas along with your journey. So it takes out some of the guesswork as you're starting to figure out what your healing journey looks like and what it looks like to really start getting in aligned with your body. Brianna, you talked about...
Hold on. I want to say something because I'm so glad you brought that up. Where, can we find the link to your book in your Instagram?
But the anti-inflammatory guide?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And the reason why I say that is because I was talking to somebody today who has PCOS, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm going on the podcast." Well, we're talking about your podcast, and so then she was like, she's noticed a change in her diet and stuff like that. So I was telling her about you and the work that you're doing, and I said, "Well, when I get on the call with her today, I'm gonna ask her if that book is ready." So okay, good. I needed to know.
You're looking for a book?
Well, your guide.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I remember you
on the guide. You ready for the book already? The book is in the works.
No, the guide. Yeah. So okay, I just wanted to know where to direct her for the guide. So
yes,
yeah, y'all go get that guide.
The link is in my bio. It's on. You can send her this episode for the podcast as well and say, .Girl, listen to me on the podcast and go ahead and get your guide. The link is in the description, and then always you can go to forwardvibrations.me. Or you could do .com and that'll take you to Shopify, but you'll still be able to get over to the website, and the guide is on the website as well. So I appreciate you for that. And I also thank you for giving me feedback and enjoying the guide and going all through it and validating it for me. So Brianna, you talked about stress and tension. So Dr. Dion was on, physical therapist, really helps with the pelvic floor. And she talked about how tense we always stay, and how tight we are. And it's this mindset that I have to keep remembering to release, to relax, So she was like, let your stomach hang. So much we're always sucking in, holding it in because we don't want it to go over, our waistline or whatever the case may be. We want to present ourselves as if we're flat and we're not as rolling. Let your stomach hang. The more you don't, the more problems it causes because your muscles are always so tense. So when you said that, you was like, release your shoulders. I did it. It's in the deep breathing for me that I'm able to identify the areas that I'm so tense. When I do that inhale, I hold it, and when I release, I can feel the release that just goes everywhere. It starts, like you said, in your shoulders, but then I can feel it in my stomach. I can start feeling it in my legs and my hip flexors. But the more deep breaths I get in, the more areas I'm able to identify and notice because it's in the breathing that I become, more aware of me. So I wanted to kind of get on that too, but you went on the gut, but I wanted to say that is powerful with your life coach in regards to holding tension and holding stress. Stress kills.
It does.
Like stress absolutely kills, and people don't realize that. So when you stay in relationships, when you stay in stressful environments, when you stay in a constant grind of how you're living that's with high triggers, you're not doing your body nor your life any justice consistently and continually staying in high stress. And stress isn't just for adults. This is for kids too. Like when you stress kids out, when you trigger kids, I'm an educator. I understand. Like when my kids have had a lot, then that's what kind of day we have. And let's just chill. Let's be family today. Let's breathe. Let's relax. Right. Because life's. And if you don't have enough life skills, coping skills, resilient skills to truly navigate stressful situations, you're going to always be in a constant state of stress because you haven't been given the skills to be able to navigate through that. So I'm glad we hit on the stress aspect of it because that's no joke. Yeah. And so can we talk a little bit more about that concept of stop holding stuff in and releasing emotions? Like how does that really contribute to your healing?
Yeah. So I don't think, like you said, we are just so tense all day, every day. And I don't think that we really realize how that manifests. Not only does it manifest as tightness in the body, but it shows up as high blood pressure. It shows up as consistent migraines, right? It shows up in so many other things. It shows up in sleepless nights. Like, I wake up every day at 3:00 in the morning. I don't even know why. It takes me forever to fall asleep. Like all of these, like we weren't designed to be in our mind for 3 hours before we fall asleep, and we're designed to have however long you sleep, 6, whatever, go into a good REM sleep and all of those things. So I don't think that people really understand, right? Like when there are inconsistencies or things are abnormal, that's your body's way of saying, hey, something is not right and I need you to pay attention to me, right? Like we talk and here's the kicker. We have to be careful how we're naming it, right? Because we'll say, oh yeah, girl, I'm just so stressed right now. But stress can be a number of things. Stress could be what? I'm just dealing with a lot of, on my job and, blah, blah, blah. And so we have to give stress a name. What is attached to that stress? What is causing you the stress? Because so many times I'm so overwhelmed. Okay, give the overwhelm a name. What is the overwhelm? That's something that I learned in my own healing journey is that I had to stop saying I'm sad. Like, so every type of description that we say, we need to give it a name. Why am I sad? I'm sad because my husband cannot stop cheating on me. Now I know this is where I need to focus on right now. This is where the core of my sadness is. But as long as I say I'm sad, then I don't, because sadness encompasses so much, right? And I'll give you a little bit of my story. It was during COVID 2020, world had shut down. And I wanted to get locks. Shout out to my locks now. But at the time, I wanted to get locks, right? So when the world opened back up, I reached out to the loctician, went to her. I said, hey, yeah, my hair is balding in the middle. And I said, so I probably need to, she was like, well, locks or tension. So we need to figure that out before you get your locks or whatever. She was like, so I'm going to refer you to a trichologist. So she did that. So I go to the woman. The woman says, hey, I'm going to put your body on this scanner for about 10 to 15 minutes. It's going to tell me everything I need to know about you, right? She said from the rooter to the tutor, it's going to tell me why your hair is falling out. I stress a lot. I'm a natural stress ball, right? And so I'm like, oh my gosh, she just going to tell me blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, I'm doing this because I want my locks, right? So once the scanner goes off, there's the silhouette of this body, and there's red dots literally all over the body. You can barely see the silhouette of the body. And she just started cussing. She was like, oh, S, oh, S, oh, S. And so I'm hearing her curse, and then I'm seeing the silhouette with all these red dots. So I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm about to die. She finna tell me I got 2 days to live. Jesus, let me call my mama.
I just wanted locks. I just wanted locks.
For the locks, Lord. And so, girl, she sits back in her chair with her arms folded, and it felt like 5 minutes, but it was probably just a few seconds. And she said, tell me what's wrong with your broken heart. And it threw me off. Like, I was like, wait, what? Because that was the first time anybody had ever saw me. Because when I show up with laughter, I show up with joy, I show up with encouragement and happiness. So I was masking all of the hurt that I was dealing with. And that was the first time anybody ever saw me. And I started to cry, and then I started to choke it up. And she said, absolutely not. That's your problem right now. Let it out right now. You're going to let it all out today. And so I did. And she told me, she said, baby, your scanners came back. You are completely healthy. She was like, the only thing that's killing you and causing your hair to fall out is your broken heart. And she was like, you got a decision. You can stay in this marriage and continue to let him kill you slowly, because this stress, that's what this stress is doing to you. She said, or you can leave this marriage and, live, basically. And look where I am now. And I was able to get my locks 3 years later, because my hair started to grow back, you know what I'm saying, and fill in. And we don't understand just how much we're holding in and how those things produce. So what I would say to your audience is, don't just chunk it up as whatever people want. Don't just chunk it up as, oh, well, high blood pressure, diabetes, and all this runs in my family, so it's natural. But no, give it a name, because there's something, even if it is, okay, well, why do you eat so much sugars? You know what I'm saying? Your body's attached to these sugars, but why? Is it comforting you? Okay, but why? And so you have to go down this journey of self-discovery to understand why you do what you do, why you think what you think, and begin to change that. Sorry, I went on a tangent.
I love that, because sorry is a cuss word on here. You got to express yourself as your healing. Yes, you are the one who's living an empowered life. It is your journey. So the wellness program, or I would say experience, that I've created is called My Healing, My Journey. And it's my own M to the 3rd degree healing empowerment formula. And it starts with mindset. And you just talked about mindset. You said, give it a name. You have to better understand your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs. Why are you feeling the way you're feeling? Why are you doing the things that you're doing? Why are you validating and okaying certain things? It's really addressing those things first. It's not, oh, I got to be motivated to do this or do that. No, it's really getting the root to your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs about yourself, and then about the life that you believe you deserve, and how do you get there. And then once you get the mindset going, and that takes time, like that could be journaling. And there's different types of journals, you know what I mean? And from gratitude journals to achievement inventory journals to boost your confidence, to let you know what you've already been able to do in regards to overcoming obstacles. But then it also just really writes letters to yourself. Why do you feel the way you're feeling? How did you feel today? What helped you navigate through life today? So it's not just, it's the various aspects of journaling that's best for you to identify your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs, then start to shift them towards the way that you want your life to live. Then it goes into mindful eating. Like you talked about, you can't heal a gut when your body is full with stress. You can't heal your body if you're tense the entire time and you're not willing to process through things that you have going on. Your food the nutrients won't be able to do what it really needs to do for you, because your body is going against those things. You're not at a place to receive it. So you can listen and hear and explore all the different food experiences, But if you're not ready to receive it and your body's not in a state ready to explore and go towards that healing journey, towards that vision that you have for yourself, it's not that time yet. And you got to take that time, give yourself that grace, that compassion you talked about earlier. And then it goes into movement. If you don't move, that energy cannot go anywhere. It is stored and it is stagnant. Movement is healing. You have to move. And I'm not saying, like you talked about earlier, you was getting your weights on. It could be walking. It could be walking towards the life that you know you deserve. That could be your mindful walks every single day. I'm not saying you got to do core activities, resistance bands, all of those different things. The goal is for you to be walking towards or moving towards healing. If that's just laying on the floor and breathing, that is movement, because that breath is getting things flowing and out of you. It is really helping circulate that body. And so this M to the third degree healing empowerment formula, to me, it just wraps around what you just said is very important when it comes to your healing journey.
Yeah.
And it comes to addressing the trauma, because addressing the trauma allows you to now start reducing the pain. Reducing the pain allows you to now start eliminating the stress in your life. When you eliminate that stress, you have more vibrancy. You get to show up more of you every single day. And so I'm grateful that you took us through that, because if you didn't catch it, you don't have to go see this loctician to get your locks to know that your body is going to show up, that your heart is broken, or that you're living in a high state of stress. Brianna is saying, when you know that there's a problem and you're keeping it stuck inside of you and you're not addressing it, you're just pushing it deep down in, it's not going to allow you to heal and live the life that you truly deserve. So start addressing that. Like that's what I saw on the scanner. It wasn't just you have a broken heart. It's, why did I have to get on a scanner for somebody to see me the way I should already know how I feel? But
exactly.
You know what I mean? But I'm masking it. So my question for you, Brianna, is how has your relationship with your own emotions and expressing them changed over time? Because I know we talked about before, you felt like your mom never really expressed a lot of emotions. Because as Black women, you always have to be strong. You have to keep wanting your kids to see a life that you don't want them to know struggle. You don't really want them to see the pain. You want them to feel good and just know that I got this. How has it changed for you? Because you're now an infidelity coach. So you pretty much carry your story on your shoulder and say, you know what, it's my story. I'm going to own it. But I'm also going to be able to be purposeful and let other people get to know and own theirs. Talk to me a little bit more about your relationship with your own emotions now and expressing them.
Yeah. I want to piggyback off of you though, when you were talking about movement. So, they have a study out there that shows that sitting is the new smoking. And they talked about, majority of people now are they don't have active lifestyles. They aren't working out. And it is so important, you guys, if you just 3 to 4 times a week for 30 minutes, do some type of mobile activity. It's good for your heart. It helps you to have a stronger heart. And with a stronger heart, it creates more circulation. It moves throughout your body and it gets everything moving the way that it's supposed to. But also just for recovery, coming out of surgery, my nurses were like, man, we can tell that you live an active lifestyle because your core is so strong, because people who don't have strong cores, it takes them a lot longer to get back to where you are in like 2 to 3 days. I even remember the first time I went to see a chiropractor, he came in with the x-rays and he was like, wait, what's your name? And he was like, these x-rays do not match how you are before me today. He was like, you should be hunched over. And he was like, the only thing that is saving you from being hunched over is because you have an active lifestyle. So I want to encourage people to be active, because that really does help you in so many ways and it saves you a lot of money.
Not only that, go ahead and be active, but also go ahead and start getting in more fruits and vegetables, exploring things that are healthier versions for you and alternatives to the foods that you already like. So in the event something does happen, because we're not saying lifestyles excuse you from life happening, because if you're not addressing those deep traumas and issues that's happening, or you're constantly staying in stressful environments, things are still going to happen because your body is present with you every single day. So go ahead and start exploring the foods too while you're with it. You know what I mean? So when you're there, look at you 2 to 3 days, you're already bouncing back because you are already being intentional about being intentional on how you care and love for yourself every single
Yeah.
day.
No, yeah, for sure. And talking about love, like the best way that you can show yourself love is to acknowledge your emotions. Um, if you're sad, say it. If you feel like crying, something hurt you, cry. Like my life coach, when I was going through my experience, that's what she told me. She said, holding in tears is a sign of weakness.
Mm.
Crying is the strongest thing that any of us can do because it's an acknowledging how you are feeling and allowing yourself to express that. And so when you ask me, like, what does that journey of, being able to regulate my emotions, we talk about emotional intelligence. And when I went on this journey of feeling everything that I felt, I realized I had so much hurt, so much anger, so much shame, like tied up into me. I hadn't spoken it. I had been bottling it up. And guess what? How that manifested for me was being angry all the time, being rash to people, right? Always speaking my mind under the terms of, oh, well, you need to hear this, right? And speaking from a place of hurt, but calling it love. I'm telling you the truth because I love you, but really, and how I shared my feedback, it was very harsh. Um, and so when I went on this journey of being able to feel my emotions, there was a cousin that she and I were like sisters. And we called each other sisters. And we got into this bad argument, girl. And we hadn't talked for 2 years. And, it was hurting my mama, her mama, my auntie would call, like everybody was just hurt because this not how y'all are, right? And when I went through my healing journey, I remember just letting it go. Because I remember one time before I started my healing journey, I reached out to her, but it was some backhanded, if you blah, blah, blah and changed, then we can, but I forgive you, and we thinking that's healthy.
Ultimate conditions and all.
It's so toxic. It's so toxic. But I remember when I was on my healing journey, I just reached out to her and it was just like a true art of forgiveness. It didn't have any concessions attached to it or anything. It was just like, hey, it was my truth. I miss you. I love you. I can't wait for us to get back together. And when you talk about that breathing, when I sent that text, I was like, oh my gosh, this feels so good. And then I remember one time calling my mama saying, I remember how mean I was to you when I was going through my divorce or when I was going through what my ex-husband was doing to me, but it was because I was hurt and I was broken. And because you're the closest to me, it was easier to lash out on you. Gosh, like every time that I allowed myself to release all of this negativity that was in me, it was a way for me to just. And so now when people are around me, to get lighter. And when people come to my house, I kid you not, JoJo, every time somebody comes to my house, they say, girl, your house is so peaceful. Like I don't say nothing to them, but they say your house is so peaceful. And that is because I go to bed every single night knowing that I have released whatever it is that I need to release. And even if it's a hard conversation to have with someone, I release it in love. And how that shows up now for me is what we don't understand is that we all have spiritual gifts, but a lot of us don't know what our spiritual gifts are, is because we have all this other clutter that we're holding on to. And so now that I am, we talk about gut, right? But let's talk about our spiritual gut. Our spiritual gut is clogged up with so much trauma, so many wounds and unhealed brokenness and broken promises and hurts from everybody else. So when you need to also clean out that spiritual gut. And when you clean out that spiritual gut, you start to see what gifts you have, right? And then it just becomes attractive and it's enjoyable and it's fun and it's freeing. Going back to that word freedom, like I can share my story of infidelity. People are like, I can't believe you share that without crying. Oh, baby, because I'm free from it. It doesn't have me in shackles the way that it used to. And that's what now having control of my emotions looks like and feels like.
I love that journey, and I appreciate you for sharing that. Especially when you go into, like, with your mom and you say, I was hurting. And so there's this big thing for me: hurt people hurt people.
Mm-hmm.
So when I know I'm hurting, I do my best to not even have as much interactions with people, because I don't want my hurt and to kind of get off on someone else's hurting. So I kind of retreat to myself and really try to process it, because I want to still be mindful of other people. No matter how I'm feeling, I still want to be mindful and handle people with care, because I want people to handle me that way. So I love that you kind of brought that into play. When you're hurting, you're going to hurt other people if you're not addressing your own hurt and aware of what you're doing and how you're treating other people that are just innocent bystanders, because they're just there. So I like that and I appreciate that. But most importantly, it was the releasing of the weight it was causing on you to just keep holding on to something. And it was a simple decision to just let go. Like, just let go. Just let go. Who's telling you you have to hold on to all of these things? You only have two hands. There's only but so much weight you want to carry on your shoulders, on your back, with your legs. You wonder why your ankles are swollen. You wonder why you're in chronic pain. You wonder why you can barely move. You wonder why people don't want to be around you. You wonder why things just don't always add up for you. It's because you're holding on to stuff that you need to let go of. And until you let go of those things, everything else in your body, everything else with the relationships, with the environment, with people, is not going to align the way you want it to, because you're not aligning for yourself the way you need to. Let it go and free yourself.
Let it go. I talk about that. So I'm working on my second book. Because I didn't even talk about that. My first book is a devotional.
Girl, you already getting to it. And that's what I was going to ask you. It was going to be on self-love. And I was about to tell me about the projects and initiatives that you're working on. So go ahead with it now.
I'm going to save that for your question, but I'm going to talk about this because there's a part in my second book called Release the Hooks, right? And when I'm talking about releasing the hooks, what I'm saying is the purpose of an anchor for a boat is to keep that boat wherever they want that boat to be, right? They don't want that boat to move. So they're going to put that anchor down here and that anchor down here, right? And it's going to stay right there on that deck where it's supposed to be. And so, like you said, our arms are shackled, right? Our feet are shackled. And then not only are those shackled, but then we got hooks in our heart. We got hooks in our mind. We got hooks on our tongue, right? Because the tongue is powerful. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. And so we've got all of these hooks that are keeping us anchored at the bottom of this ocean. And we can't figure out for the life of us why we not floating to the top. And you have to decide to let go of each of those hooks. Heartbreak, let it go. Shame from my marriage, let it go. Anger from my daddy not being in my life, let it go. You know what I'm saying? Mistreatment of family members, let it go. Backstabbing by the ones that I love the most, let it go. Physical abuse by the person that I gave my heart to, let it go. Like all of these hooks that are holding me down in this ocean, and I can't breathe and I'm suffocating and I'm asking for help and I'm asking to let up. I want to breathe. I want to breathe. I want to breathe, but I got to let go of these hooks. One of the hardest hooks for me to let go of was to let go of my niece. Because I'm the only child. So I was extremely close with my in-laws. But what I realized is that they were anchoring me, because what was happening is that they wouldn't do it on purpose, but they would say something about my ex-husband to me. And then that would reel me back in. And then I would go back to him. People talked about me and said, well, your family, your in-laws don't have anything to do with this marriage, but you don't understand that's a hook that's holding me down. And I've got to float to the top. I can't let them hold me down. Yeah, it's going to hurt. Yeah, I love them. Yeah, they love me. Yeah, my mother-in-law told me from the very beginning, I don't want to lose you as a daughter-in-law. Please don't leave me. Me and my niece, I would go out to stuff for her. She was like, I want you to come to my graduation and not my uncle. You know, like all of these things. But I'm telling you, talking about release, when I let that hook go, and that's the thing that we don't understand, is that just float to the top. And when you get to the top, you can breathe. And when you breathe, right, we already know when that oxygen starts to come back, we can get clear, we can get clarity, right? And then you can climb your way up onto the boat. And then you can climb your way up into land. And then you can finally start to navigate with other people, right? And personalities and things like that. Like everything is a step-by-step process, to where this year, a couple of months ago, I was able to reach out to my in-laws and my niece and just apologize. I said, hey, I apologized for how I left, but I had to do that for my healing. And they were like, my niece was like, it really hurt me. But now as an adult, I understand that what you did was bigger than me. And that's another release for me. And so we have to be okay with releasing these hooks, even though they're hard to do right now. And don't let anybody tell you that's the wrong hook to release. You know your hooks. You know what's holding you down. You know what's anchoring you. And if you want to float, only you can decide which hooks you have to release.
I love that. And I love it so much because you gave yourself permission to unhook those things. And a lot of times people are looking for other people to give them that permission, or say, is it okay for me to release this hook? Would you be okay if I release this hook? You didn't ask for an okay. You didn't ask for them to understand. You just said this hook has to be released. And once you released it, you freed yourself. You were able to get to the top. Then you could come back as an evolved person, one with more self-love, more confidence, more awareness of what you needed for yourself, to then say, hey, I apologize with how that actually went down.
Because that was the broken me, and the broken me didn't know better.
It wasn't my intention for it to go down the way it went down, but that's what I needed for me. And you didn't also stick around for them to accept or deny.
Yeah.
The apology. You just did that because you felt it was right for you to be able to go back and say that. And I love that your niece said, knowing what I know now as a mature adult, that was bigger than me. So many people tend to take things personal. And when you take things personal, you're unable to truly identify what is best for someone's existence versus you thinking it's something just against you. When people are doing what they need to do for themselves and their healing journey, it's about them and what's best for them. They are not thinking about how you're going to feel about what it is that they need to do for them, because it's about them first. And that goes into what I wanted to talk to you about your role of self-love. Because clearly releasing those hooks, choosing freedom, is an act of self-love, right?
No, right.
And so what role does self-love and acceptance play in a healing journey? And how do you incorporate self-love and acceptance in your own coaching practice?
One of the things that I tell all of my clients is that we allow others to treat us one step lower than we treat ourselves. So if you are complaining about a toxic and unhealthy relationship that you are in, I need you to go look in the mirror to see how you're treating yourself, right? Because you're allowing that person to treat you one step lower than yourself. And we don't understand that. I think sometimes when we talk about, relationships are mirrors and stuff like that, but really that's what it is. Like, especially in very close romantic relationships, they are a mirror to us, and it shows up, and so again, we allow others to treat us one step lower than we treat ourselves. So that's the first step to that, is really paying attention to, okay, I allow them to break their promises to me all the time. Are you breaking your promises to yourself? You probably are. I allow this person to make me feel unattractive. Do you tell yourself in your mind all the time that you're not attractive and you're not successful, and you beat yourself up all the time subconsciously and internally? You probably are. And I say that because it's the truth. It comes out with every single client. The truth always comes out, because you're hiding You're masking it and you're showing up as this confident, strong, powerful woman who got it. And I ain't worried about what he did. If you were really not worried about that, then you wouldn't be showing up the way that you showing up in response to something that he did, and understanding that his cheating ain't got nothing to do with you. And so we have to really take that, like that self-reflection of like, how I'm allowing this person to treat me. Am I doing it to myself? Because the thing is, the best form of self-love, because we talked about that. Dang, look, I don't forgot his name, but we were on MMU when he talked about that. He talked about the best form of self-love and self-care is self-trust. And so we have to learn how to trust ourselves, because a lot of times, especially with the women that I work with, yeah, the trust has been broken in your romantic relationship, but you've also broken that trust within yourselves. Because how many times have you ever just been disappointed with yourself because of the inability to keep your word to yourself? So we got to start there, right? And once we start to rebuild that self-trust, then we can learn how to show up and start to trust others. But I think the best form of self-love is self-trust, because when you trust yourself, you can trust yourself to say, you know what, this is a boundary that I need to set. This is a hook that I need to release. This is an emotion that I need to express, right? And we stop holding these things in, and we allow ourselves and we give ourselves the freedom to actually express these things. Because one of the things that I always tell my clients is that my job for you is to get you complete. Mm-hmm. So that when you do start to date again, no man is going to complete you, but they're just going to compliment you. Meaning, when they bring you flowers, that's a compliment because you already get yourself flowers. When they tell you you're beautiful, that's a compliment to what you do because you tell yourself you're beautiful every day, right? When they show up for you in ways that you never thought and could have imagined, that's a compliment because you already show up for yourself. So we have to develop this self-trust within ourselves so that when we get into any relationship, what's being mirrored and what's being reciprocated is just a compliment, because our cup is so full that now what everybody else gets is just the overflow of what we already give ourselves.
Compliment because you're already complete. Mm-hmm. I'm with it. Everything else is just a compliment because I'm already complete, because I've freed myself. Mm-hmm. And I'm unhooking things. I'm establishing boundaries, and I'm getting to a place where I can trust me. Because if I trust myself, I love myself. Mm-hmm. And then if I love myself, then I'm able to make the best decisions for myself that align for.
You better say that, JoJo.
I got you, Brianna. I got you. So I'm just saying. So here we go. What projects or initiatives are you currently working on to help people with their journeys of infidelity and processing trauma?
Yes. Okay. So it's out now. I haven't even announced it yet, but it is out. I have a free ebook, and you guys can, the link is in my bio, but it's a free ebook called Overcoming Infidelity. So you can definitely check that out. If you want a little bit more of some meat to the bones, I have another ebook. It's only $7, y'all. And it's called Essential Questions to Ask Your Partner After You Cheat. Because a lot of us are asking the wrong questions. We ask us stuff like, well, how many times? What did she look like? Where did y'all go? And what you don't understand is that those types of questions are only increasing your insecurity and increasing your hurt. And so with this $7 ebook, what I do is I teach you how to ask the right questions to get the answers that you need so that you can get the clarity on if this partner is the person that you want to rebuild trust with, or if you should move on. And then I have my 49-day devotional called Healing the Heart from Infidelity. And you guys, it touches on everything. Day 1 starts with time does not dictate healing. So it don't matter if you found out about it 17 years ago, it does not dictate healing. And then we end the last day 49 with a perfect love cast out fear, because a lot of us are afraid to say stuff to our partner out of fear of them taking something away from us, and that's not love. And then I am getting ready, so follow me, you guys, if you are interested. I am getting ready for my 6-week coaching program called Healing from Infidelity. I'm super excited about that. And girl, I got this book. It's basically done. I just have to look through the edits. I don't even know what I'm a title it yet, but it's going to be another book. It has a little bit more about my story in there, but it's basically stories of other women who have experienced infidelity as well. And I give you tools on how to navigate each one of their particular situations. So follow me too if you want more information about that. And then the podcast, I forgot about the podcast, Lord. Follow the podcast, Life After Infidelity. It's stories of men and women, because guess what? Men get cheated on too. Yeah. I don't leave the men out. But it's stories of men and women just talking about their experiences and how they healed their hearts from the betrayal of infidelity.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. All right. So last 2 questions. I'm happy for you. I am so happy for you. And I'm so grateful that you are on this intentional path of just living out your truth, owning your story, and just establishing things to leave a legacy for other people, just coming from where you are in life right now. So go, Briaina, your best self. Keep doing what you're doing. And I'm just happy that you're able to share all of those things with the listeners whenever they may hear this, because whenever they hear it is when they need it. And so thank you for that. So this is for father figures, girl dads. Give some insight, some tips, some strategies, even so, on how they should approach supporting their daughters or their partners or spouses when it comes to fibroids, polycystic ovarian syndrome, endometriosis symptoms, even if they don't have a diagnosis, because sometimes we're late with the diagnosis. But how do they best support people with their menstrual cycles that experience non-normal, irregular type periods?
Yeah. Off the top of my head, JoJo, the thing that I think about is like, just believe them. Because, it's, I'm in the field of disabilities. And so we always talk about invisible, well, you're in school system. So, visible disabilities and invisible disabilities. And so when I think about like fibroids and stuff like that, it's something that's invisible, right? Meaning that, it can affect one person different, each person differently. So you may know a person who doesn't just has cycles, but you're not understanding that this person has cycles with fibroids or PCOS or whatever, and how that their pain is their pain. And so I would just say believe them, and then just simply ask, how can I support you? I think so many times we brush off people's pain levels because it's not visible. We can't actively see it, right? And then certain people who may have the same diagnosis, it matriculates in a different type of way. And so I would just say believe them and honor that, and then just ask them, how can I support you during this journey?
Beautiful and simple, straight to the point. Because it doesn't take all of that. Normally, you have dads who don't want to get into that conversation because they're not well versed in what's really happening, or spouses that just say, "Oh, okay, well, what you want me to do about it?" You know what I mean? But it's believing them and then asking, "What can I do to support?" And then do it. Don't just ask and not do it, but then do those things that they're asking you to do to be of support. So I love that. So last question. If you could have a meal with any historical figure, who would it be and what would y'all eat?
Oh, a historical figure? I'm going to think about it for a little bit. Somebody. Okay. I'm learning to just come with whoever comes to the top of my mind, right?
Okay.
And you said, what would we eat?
Yeah. Who would that historical figure be and what would y'all eat?
Okay. I'm gonna say Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks, and what would we eat? Oh my gosh. We would eat some vegan fried chicken and waffles.
Okay. I like it. My cheeks did a little water. This is like day 93. on
Because
this
I
high
miss
wall
chicken.
journey.
I don't know about you. Do you miss chicken?
Girl, those chicken fried mushrooms just hit on a whole nother level. A whole nother level. But we're not gonna get too much into that. Why
Yeah.
Rosa Parks?
Yeah. You say what?
Why Rosa Parks?
Why Rosa Parks? Hold on. I'm sorry. I was picturing Rosa. Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman. Oh, y'all, don't let me lose my black card. Please don't take my black card, JoJo. JoJo, please don't take my JoJo. JoJo. JoJo.
You can keep it. You can keep it. You've been healing the people the entire time. You've been talking about freedom. So it's only right that you talk about Harriet Tubman when it comes to freeing the people. You keep the card. Tell me why Harriet, not Rosa.
Harriet, I apologize. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Harriet. I love you. I really do. That's why I want to have dinner with you. Because anyway, so part of my journey, when I was still married or whatever, I would have this dream. And I would have this dream so much so to where when I would dream it, it was as if I was watching a movie because I had it so frequently that I knew what was going to happen. And I remember it bothered me. Like I went to work and I was talking to like some of my older wise women. And I was like, I keep having the same dream. So much so now it's just like watching it. And I wake up at the same time every single time. And the dream was me. I was shackled in this house, and somehow me and all these people that were in this house under this basement, we got loose from the shackles and we just took off running through trees and everything, running. Then the owner finally realized that we got loose and he released his dogs on us. So we're running, we get to this big body of water. Till this day, now mind you, I've been having this dream since like 2018 because again, it's before I got divorced. And we were running. I still don't know to this day how we got over to the other side, but we get to the other side and we're like, don't tell anybody where we just escaped, because where we escaped, he was very powerful. And if we told people where we escaped, they would probably try to capture us so they can get a reward. So we found this house, and this house was like, hey, it was a secret house, right? So it's like the Underground Railroad. It was a secret house. And the family was like, once you go down in this hole, like they had this big old hole that was connected to their house, and they lifted up and they said, once you go down there, you'll run through this, whatever tunnel, and then you'll be to freedom on the other side. And so the father looks at me and he says, hey, because there was several of us, and the father says, hey, will you take my daughter with you? I want my daughter to go with you. And when it was my time to jump into the hole, that as many times as I've had that dream, that was the time I would wake up, when it was my turn to walk into the dream. And that was what was bothering me, was how come every time when it was my opportunity to get to freedom, I would get so scared and it would wake me up out of my dream. The beginning of this year, I was in meditation and I was like, God, Spirit, speak to me. And girl, when I got the answer, I'm telling you, I'm sitting, heads, because I'm meditating, and I just started to cry. And what I received during that meditation was that when you get from that underground, and the reason why that man asked you to take his daughter with you is because his daughter had been cheated on, and he knew that you could help her. And the reason why you wake up every single time scared is because you're afraid of the weight of what your gift is going to give you and bring you. Because when you get to the other side, you're going to help so many other women who are hiding behind shame, who are hiding unhappy in their marriages. And you're finna free people. And so I love how this is coming back full circle. And I didn't even like, this is just the spirit of like how when you ask me what my word was, it's freedom. And when you ask me who my person is, it all connects to freedom. And I am so thankful that the thing that almost took me out, that the thing that was killing me because of a broken heart has freed me to now help free other people. And that is a beautiful gift.
Very beautiful.
It's so beautiful. And when people, I'm not even mad at my ex-husband. You know what I say? You love me so much that you entered into a sacred contract to hurt me so deeply just so I could get to my purpose. That's love. And I thank him for that.
Girl. Briaina. So like as you were telling the story, I was like, she done said freedom. This daddy is telling her she need to come free all these women. I know you said men too. I was like, he is saying free my daughter too.
Yeah.
Don't you leave no woman left behind.
No.
Free them. And so when you started it at the beginning, you were already like, whether you stay or leave, I'm here to help you be free and be confident with your decision. So I was already like, where this dream about to go? Where this dream about to go? And then I'm thinking, I was like, I had dreams about my business too. Like I'm over here really like, I done met Shaq and I'm telling Shaq about my business. He's like, oh, really? Say word, send me his email. And I'm like, I'm telling everybody about this big thing. Like nobody is magnifying the effects of endometriosis, polycystic ovary syndrome, fibroids on the Black community. More people are starting to talk about it, but it's not mainstream yet. And this ain't it, because people are dying in debilitating pain. People are bleeding out and not getting the help that they need. Like that's not how you live. Like that's not it. And because most of the time I'm always seeing depressing stories, things that just seem of not hope. I can't lose the weight. The weight is always here. I can't get my hormones balanced. I can't have kids. So now I'm stuck with not knowing if I'm infertile. Like it's always the issues and that just really wrap around the conditions. I rarely see people being positive and trying to empower you to still find the trust in you. So you can love you, so you can start really embracing things that's going to help you start feeling better, even though you know there's no cure. You know what I'm saying? There's so much more, the word of the podcast today, freedom in your healing journey if you're intentional with embracing them with the vibes that you need. You know what I'm saying? And so when you were saying, I was just like, come on, talk that talk, talk that talk. And then it made me think about what you said. I was so focused on my business that I started neglecting how I cared for myself, that I wasn't even feeling my body. Then it goes right back to the story you just told. If the dad is saying, take my daughter with you, you can't take anybody with you if you're not continuing to heal yourself. If you're neglecting you, the business of taking other people with you isn't going to be able to go but so far, because you're not able to go so far. So my message to you, Briaina, is that you're living an empowered life. You are empowering other people every single day. You're creating products and services to be able to help people with their journey through trauma and infidelity. Don't forget about you. Because he said, when it is your turn, don't forget my daughter. It got to be you first, always, and never forget about you.
That's good.
That's all I'm gonna say. So y'all, tell everybody where they can find you, Briaina.
You can find me on Life After Infidelity on all the platforms, actually. Well, TikTok and all the platforms, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram, and YouTube. So you can find me at Life After Infidelity on all the platforms. And you can always just shoot me a DM or reach out to me at a fair recovery coach at gmail.com. And man, I've enjoyed this conversation, and it's like for you too. I just want to say thank you for living an empowered life. And I love how every situation inspires us to advocate for something on a higher level. Like I was thinking about this the other day, and it was a question that I wanted to ask you, because like infidelity was that thing that made me want to advocate for people. Like, cause I'm like, I got fibroids and people are now reaching out to me about fibroids, but like that didn't prick my heart, the way this infidelity thing is. And so I love the work that you're doing. And I know that this has pricked your heart to make you want to go forth. And the thing is, like you said, nobody's talking about it. And the truth is, like, they don't talk about it because it's prevalent in Black women. right? It's mostly present in Black women, because I guarantee you, if other races were getting fibroids and dying from bleeding out and experiencing this excruciating pain, which they always try to nullify our pain and lessen it, and say that we're just exaggerating. But if other races were experiencing these fibroids at the rate that we are experiencing, baby, there would be studies out there. Okay. We wouldn't go to the doctors and the doctors wouldn't say, oh, okay, it's just, we don't know why, but Black people get it. And that's, to me, that angers me, that you can look me in my face and say, oh, it's just something that's present and prevalent in Black women. And you're okay with that. And then you're okay with giving me a medication that is going to stop my bleeding when I'm supposed to have a cycle every single month to clean out my system. Like that type of stuff, it I don't understand it. And so I'm thankful for you. And, sometimes when we have these torches, people don't understand it. And so I just want to say to you, my sister, like, continue to carry this torch, because you too are with me. We're on this journey of bringing women to freedom. Like, we're on different, we're in different lanes, but baby, we're running parallel, because at the end of the day, we are both bringing women to freedom, and we are both highlighting what Black women are experiencing in this community. And we are letting you know that we hear you, we see you, we stand beside you, and we are not going to take "we don't know" for an answer, because healing is possible. There have been several women who have healed themselves of fibroids, and healing is possible. You don't have to live a life of pain anymore.
Not at all, because pain is not normal. And I definitely do appreciate that. And I do agree with you in what you said earlier. There's so much in common with people who experience PCOS and fibroids and endometriosis when it comes to life experiences. But as well, like, you took that infidelity and you ran with it. It was within that relationship with infidelity and a toxic, stressful work environment that allowed my body to get in that state of, hey, something is going on the inside. And because you have all this other stuff going on, I'm letting you know now. So it's a part of it, but it wasn't the part that pushed me to a point where I'm going to say, get out of those unhealthy relationships. Now it's how you think and feel about yourself, the decisions you make. You see that mindset shift?
Yep.
So now what you're eating and how you move literally and physically through life challenges is how you heal yourself. And so it definitely is just a different shade of passion and purpose. But at the same time, I'm with you. It's your own healing journey. So what might have worked for me, what might have worked for Brianna may or may not work for you. But what we're telling you to do is be intentional on your journey to really address the things that you're feeling. Free yourself from the traumas, from the grief, so that way you can live the life that you know you deserve. What does that life look like? Go and explore it for yourself. If you need an infidelity or trauma coach, holla at Brianna. If you need a healthy habits and lifestyle coach, because you're really trying to figure out, where do I even start with grieving that relationship or my lifestyle that I normally had, and how do I start taking steps to live a sustainable life, holla at your healthy habits and lifestyle coach, Giovanni. But we're here for you, y'all. It has been another amazing episode of the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast. If you want to get into the community, or you're interested in the Harmonize and Heal 3-day vibrant experience, click on that same link. You will see it on the link tree listed out. Just come vibe with me, y'all. Brianna, thank you for being amazing. Thank you for being you. I'm grateful that you were able to share your journey of strength here on the podcast. Keep doing good things, sis, and keep
Thank you.
vibing.
Peace out, everybody.